Good evening, everybody. My name is Tondani Moketsi. I'm a facilitator for the first year computer science modules and first year information systems modules. So today we are doing course 1511, program debugging and switch statements. These topics are part of your material for the assignment. So that's why I'm doing this topic today. Just a reminder to please switch off your video and to mute the microphone. Raise your hand if you would like to ask a question or make a comment. And also please complete the attendance register. At the end, I will also ask you to complete the evaluation form. But most importantly, please participate and follow along as we do the practice questions. I think it's a good idea to have your code blocks open or whatever IDE that you are using to practice coding. So yes, all the sessions are recorded. I have pasted the link in the chat even last week where you can get the previous recordings. So as we go through the lessons throughout the year, they will be uploaded to that same YouTube playlist. So you can access them later. I got questions about having a break. We will have a break. I'm not sure what are the official recess dates for June, July, but I saw that the last assignment is due the 24th of June for course 1511. So you guys can decide if we need to have a class on the 30th or not, but I'm planning that we will take a 2-week leave. So the first 2 weeks of July, then we will take a break. Also, I know some of you are also doing semester modules, so it is exam time for semester modules as well. So we can talk about that. Let me know what you think. So today we're talking about program debugging and switch statements. So the outcomes for the lesson is just to understand how to locate errors in your code as you're writing programs, be able to apply the principles of good programming and writing C++ programs, and also to be able to write switch statements and use them in a program. So that is what we are doing today. So as we were doing exercises last week and the week before, I see a lot of you are struggling with fixing errors with your programs. So I thought we should go through this. Debugging in C++ is just a process of identifying the errors or bugs as they're commonly known, and fixing those errors in your code so that your program can run and give you the output. So debugging helps you to locate and correct the mistakes in your code and ensure that your program runs correctly. So there are some key steps or techniques that you can apply to do program debugging in C++. It is not always a straightforward process. You have to do trial and error, try different techniques to see if you're able to locate the error and resolve it. So the first step is to obviously identify the problem. So usually you write your code, run it, and then you will notice that there's an error popping up. So that is the first step. You identify the problem. and any unexpected behavior in your program. What is it supposed to do and what is actually doing? So that's why in the beginning of our sessions, we said you guys need to practice logical program design so that you first understand what your program is supposed to do and how you're going to resolve that problem step by step. So then you will be able to identify the problem. What is your program supposed to do versus what it is actually doing? And then as you run the program, take note of any error messages and unexpected output. So there are debugging tools that you can use with C++ and also with other IDE also like VS Code comes with debugging features that you can use. It's up to you to make sure that you know how to use the debugging tools. And also with code blocks, as it is your prescribed software, you need to know how to do debugging in code blocks. I will share a video later on that you can go to watch on how to debug in code blocks. So you can set breaking points and inspect the values as you step through the code. So that is one way to go line by line to check where the problem is occurring in your code. So I'm not going to dwell too much on this, but you just need to practice it so that you know how to identify errors and how to fix them in your code. While pause at a breakpoint, you can inspect the values of the variable, each variable, if variables are declared or if they contain the expected values or if they have changed unexpectedly. So that is part of the debugging process. So last week, we struggled with one of the practice questions on loops. And then I think it was Ndebo who was explaining how you can actually step through the code to see what is happening with each iteration of the loop using the trace table. So that is another way that you can use to see what is happening with your code. So those are all the tips that you can use. Then you can be able to trace the flow of your program and find where it deviates from the expected path. Then, yeah, just watch out for the warning errors and warnings. Address the issues first before you can run the program. So a lot of the time, I think students struggle with what the error means. I think that is the biggest issue. So you can do a bit of troubleshooting, or to make things easier for yourself, you can go search for common errors with C++, for example, and then you get a list of common errors and how to resolve them. That will make it easier for you. You can also use logging statements to log messages to help you understand what is happening in your program. Then, as we have seen in the past, you can test with simplified inputs. So for complex problems, you can test with an input. Say if you have an integer for age, and based on that integer, the program is supposed to do something, then you can use that simple input and run the program to see what is happening, and ensure that the program flow, the syntax is correct. That is very important. Make sure you are not missing any colons where you're supposed to have colons. Make sure you don't have any unnecessary spaces in between, and that you have closed the brackets. These are simple syntax errors that can be frustrating if you're running your program and you can't see what is wrong. So we must look out for those things. And then we must also review the logic of the algorithm and make sure that the flow is logical. That is how you can, another way you can approach the debugging. If all else fails, then you consult the documentation in your study guide, in your textbook, to see what's going on with your code. Then you can obviously consult online resources. Like we always say, you can find videos on YouTube. You can go to places like Stack Overflow to see what is causing your error. And then there are many other online forums where you can get valuable resources so that you know how to debug your problem. So it is experimentation that the skill comes. The more you practice coding, then the more you will be able to debug your programs. And also peer review is another thing that works. So if you feel that you're struggling a lot with a specific error, then you ask a fellow student to check your code, or lecturers. In the working world, this is standard practice that developers review each other's code. So fresh eyes may spot issues that you missed. So that is just all about debugging. You can go through it in your study guide. This is lesson 10 in your study guide, and they explain step by step how to debug your programs in C++. Do you guys have any questions before we go further? Any questions or comments? Okay, so last week we talked about loops, and one of the ways that they ask questions related to loops is they give you snippet of code like this, and you have to come up with the output. What will the outputs be? So we had a similar question like this last week. I think we did the first 3 questions. So today we want to do the last 3. So here you have to state what output will result from each of the code snippet. You can work it out on paper, or you can enter the code in your IDE and then see what is the output. Then we can discuss the answers. That is where we will start for today. So you can just start with that question D, which is saying for, this is a for loop, for int equals to 12 and I greater or equal to 9, then I minus minus. Remember last week we said the minus minus indicates decrement. The plus plus indicates increment. So here you are decreasing the value of I, and then it says C out, and then it shows a star. So you are supposed to provide the output for this code. I'm going to paste these questions here so that you can see it closely if you cannot see from the slide. I'm pasting it in the chat. Then you can just start with question D and post your output. Then we carry on with E and F. Then we can discuss the outputs for these three loops. Okay, I'll give you guys 5 minutes to work through these questions, and then we discuss the output.
Ma'am, we are debugging, right? We are debugging.
You are entering this code for question D, then you run it. If you do get errors, then you debug. You run it and then send your output. What is the output for question D? What is the output for E? What is the output for F?
Oh, so it is our responsibilities to debug, even though the code is there and has bugs in it. It's our responsibility to debug and then find out the final answer.
Yes.
Okay.
It is your responsibility.
Because I
So
thought maybe some of the questions weren't written properly.
well, it's up to you to find out. So
Okay.
if you type in this code exactly as it is, what is the output that you get, or do you get an error? That's what we need to find out.
Okay.
Are you guys winning? Anyone who would like to post their answer? So maybe if we start with that question D, did anyone get an error for question D? It could give you an error as the output, or your output could be 4 stars. It is because when we read that for int equal I is initialized to 12. And then we have the condition. Remember, for your syntax for the for loop is always the initialization, then the condition, then the increment or decrement. So for this first question D, we have I initialized to 12. And then the condition is saying I is greater or equal to 9. And then you have to decrement. That's minus is decrement. But if you look closely, that int equals to 12, it doesn't say int I equals to 12. It should say int I equals to 12. Then when you run it, the for loop will start at 12, meaning the value of I is 12. Then the loop keeps decreasing by 1 until the value of I is less or equal to 9. So that is what the for loop must do in this case. So the value of I is 12 minus 1. The value of I becomes 11. Minus 1, it becomes 10. minus 1, it becomes 9. So it will be 4 iterations. So that's why I'm saying the output for this question, it's either it gives you an error because that int equals to 12 is not written properly. It should say int I equals to 12, or it can give you the output of four stars in one line. So I just want to see, what did you guys get for that first question? Does it make sense what I'm explaining? Okay. And then maybe let's go to the second one. So you can type the same code in and see what output it gives you. So the second question is for int I initialized. The condition is I less or equal to 5. And in this case, we are incrementing the integer I, and then display the output. Okay, Elma Tula is saying, please help. What is this error saying? Primary expression before I. Yes. So then your answer is correct. What I just explained in your line 9, this is the code that they gave us. It just says int equals to 12, right? But that is not the correct way to define a for loop. It should say int I equals to 12. So that is why you're getting this error. So then this is correct. So you can then say the output is that gives you an error. And the explanation is line 9, the for loop, the initialization statement is incorrect. So that is why it's saying that it's expecting a primary expression before the initialization. I hope that makes sense. Okay, someone is asking, which lesson is this? We are doing course 1511. Course 1511, this is questions on loops, practice questions on loops. So it is for both course 1511 and course 1512. Okay, so if we look at the next question, the next for loop, you can see that in this one, the initialization is correct because it says for int I equals to 0. So the loop will start at 0. The condition is I less or equal to 5. So that is the condition. And then the loop must increment by 1 each time. So if we're starting at 0, then increment by 1, the loop will run from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 because the condition says I less or equal to 5. So 5 is also included. So in total, the loop will run 5 times. So it's 6 times from 0 until 5. It's 6 iterations. So then your output, looking at that C out statement, your output should be 5 stars. No, 6 stars. It should be 6 stars when you run that code for question E. Did anyone get that output for question E? Okay, thank you, Kulani, for the thumbs up. Others, if you're struggling, you can post your output here. So the reason why I'm saying your output for question E should be 4 stars is because when you work out the loop, you can do it on paper and work it out on paper. So we are saying the first iteration is I equals to 0. Next iteration, I equals to 1. Next, I equals to 2, I equals to 3, until it reaches I is less or equal to 5. Because we are incrementing the value of I. In the previous question, we were decrementing, decreasing. The I minus is decreasing. The I plus plus means increasing. Okay, so then the loop will run for 6 iterations, and then your output will be the 6 stars. Still getting the same errors. Guys, can we please help Mr. Matula for int? No, you forgot to put I there. So where you have for int, you need to put I equals to 0. That is why. On line 10, where you have for int, you must add I before the equal sign so that it reads I equals to 0 as it is here in the question. Yes, so please correct that and run it again. Then it should give you the expected output. Still errors even after I put I. So, okay, and they were saying indent the C out to be right underneath the for loop. Okay, so you were supposed to just copy the code as it is in the question. So the first statement where you're declaring I is not required below the main function. Is it working now?
Yes, ma'am, it says it's working.
Okay, thank you. Other people in the room, what are you getting? May I ask why I must shift the CR below the 4? It is indentation. You know, we we talked about indentation a lot. Someone please explain indentation. Why do we have to indent? That is the basic syntax of how you write things in C++.
It's indentation tells the program where a specific line of code is underneath what. So in the first, if you look at the first time he put his picture in, the C out was right underneath the for loop, the F loop, in direct proportion, meaningly the C out is in the same level as the scope of the code. The scope of C out is what's important. So if it's underneath the for loop, it means C out is only used when the for loop is working. But if it's within the same line as the for loop, like right underneath the for loop, it's not intended inside the for loop, then it means C out is outside the scope of the for loop. The best analogy would be that you can't see the rooms that are inside the house, but you can see the house. But now, if there wasn't any walls, you could see the rooms. So indentation is the walls to enclose the rooms.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that explanation, dear. But does it make sense, guys? The other day we also tried to explain using indentation on a Word document. So if you are typing a Word document, you can see part of the menu options there. You can indent right and indent left, or increase and decrease the indent. So in programming, it matters where you're putting the indentation,
More
similar
especially in
to,
Python.
yes. So similar to when we did the if statements, if you remember, we followed the same principle. When you writing the if statements, the code that you want to run with the if statement, then it must be indented, right? Then you can have an else statement and then another code block that you want to execute for the else. So yeah, that is indentation, and it is throughout programming, not only now when we're working with loops. So you must make sure that you understand how to use indentation. I hope that helps.
Also, people must be careful of indentation. Sometimes the reason why your code would not work It's not because of a syntax error. It could be because of a logical error, and more especially indentation. So being careful of it and being aware of it, and also just keeping in mind when you're coding, is what's going to help you avoid a lot of trouble. You know what I mean?
Yes. Okay. So guys, you need to make sure you understand the indentation. It is there in your study guide. You can use your study guide to see how they do indentation. You can go search on YouTube how indentation works, so that you can understand. It will help you to write code better. Okay. Yes, thank you. You will look for more info about indentation. Okay, so then question F. F is also a for loop. We have for int I initialized to 1. The condition is I less or equal to 5, and increment I. Then we have the C out. So the question is, what is the output that you're getting for this piece of code? Anyone attempted this one? So for F, you can see
It's only going to print 4. I think. I'm lying.
no, it says
Oh.
I is less or equal to 5. So it's going to run 5 iterations from 0, no, from 1.
Oh. So because I is equal to 1, ma'am. And then for the 1, it's
Yes.
gonna run, and then it's gonna increment. So it's gonna increment twice. It's gonna be I is equal to 1, then print, and then increment I, which is equal to 2. Then after it prints, it's gonna be 2. Then that I, which is equal to 2, is gonna be plus 2. Then it's gonna be 3. Then it's gonna print
Yes.
again, which is gonna be the second time. Then it's gonna increase to 4, and then it's gonna print the second one, and then that 4 is gonna be equal to 5, and then it's gonna print the third one. Then it's gonna increase to 6 and 7. Then it's only gonna print 3 times. That is you.
So if we look closely, that I equals to I plus 1. That statement is not part of the loop if you look closely. So if we look at previous examples where we have the loop, for loop defined, and then we have the C out statement. Now we just spoke about indentation. Where the C out is and where the statement I equals to I plus 1 is 2 different places. So that statement is outside of the loop, if that makes sense. So it has no effect. So what we always need to check is the condition of the loop and the number of iterations. And in this case, we can see that I equals to I plus 1 has no effect. Okay, thank you, Kulani. I have to zoom in to see what you're getting.
Says I was not declared underneath the scope.
Yes, so that is the correct output. So it is supposed to give you a compile error in this case. So the variable I is declared inside the for loop. So if you look at the line 3, I equals to I plus 1, that statement is outside of the for loop. I don't know how to explain it, but that is why it's giving the error. So that output of a compiler error is correct in this case. You can compare it to the previous example where we had I equals to 0. Okay, but do you guys understand what is happening with these for loops? Because these are the type of questions that you get in the assignments. Okay. See if someone else posted something. Okay. Visual representation of indentation. Thank you, and there was so. Guys, if you look at what is posted there in the chat, what happened? If you look at what is posted there in the chat, you can see the example of how indentation works. So you can read through that example using the house analogy. And also paying attention to where the curly brackets are for each of those statements. Okay, thank you, Diabo. This helps. So people can go through that example for themselves. And if you guys struggle, then you're welcome to ask. Okay, so I also want to go through switch statements for the purposes of the assignment that is coming up. So switch statement in your study guide is in lesson 13. Yes, lesson 13. So you are supposed to cover that as you prepare for the assignment. So a switch statement is a control structure which allows you to select one of many code blocks to execute based on the value of a single expression. So it is often used as an alternative to a series of if-else statements when you need to make a decision based on the value of an integer or an enumeration type. So you can think of it as a multiple choice. So with that type of problem, you can either use a long series of if statements or rather use a switch statement. That is where you will use a switch statement. This is the basic syntax of how you write in a switch statement, excuse me. So similar to how we've been writing if statement, here we have the word switch and then the expression inside the braces. Then you have the curly brackets. So you need to make sure that you have your expression first. Then in the curly bracket is where you have the code to execute when the expression equals to the case. So in this example, we are saying the case one, constant one is the case that will be executed. Then there is a break. Then you have a case two, then a break and another case until all the cases are covered. But also it's a good idea to have the default case, which is like the else statement in an if statement, to say if any of the expressions don't match the cases, then what must the program do? So this is the basic syntax of a switch statement. So in this case, it is used in situations where you have a single expression or a variable whose value needs to be compared against multiple constant values. So let's say, for example, we have max grading. So with max grading, we have constant values, let's say A, B, C, D, and E, depending on the percentage that the student got. So we can say if the student got A as the grade, then we want to print the message excellent. Or else, if the student got a B, print the message very good. So you can solve this problem using multiple if statements, or you can use a switch statement. So in this case, your switch statement will be, instead of first if statement, you have a case A, which is your first case, then case B, then case C. And for each of those cases, you tell your program what to do. In this case, you just want to print a message. So you just have a C out for each of those cases. And also important to remember is that we always need to have a break point. After each case, you need to have a break point. The break is important so that it stops execution of the case. So after each case, which is an option in the multiple choices, then you have a break. Then the default case at the end is the one that handles all other unmatched cases. So you can think of an if statement. We all understand how to work with if statements by now. Then you apply the same concept using a switch statement. So as long as you have multiple conditions, no, not multiple conditions, multiple options that you need to choose from, then you will use the switch statement for each case. So this helps to have cleaner code, easier to read, unlike having 5 if-else statements to cater for each case. Rather use the switch statement. So wherever you have multiple options based on the value of a variable, that is where you will use the switch statement. I hope that makes sense. So this is the basic syntax of a switch statement. Now let's look at an example. So I've explained where you use the switch statement and what the default case does, and that the break statement is required after each case. So then how does this switch statement work? So the expression is evaluated and its value is compared to the values of the constant in each case label. So if a case label matches the value of the expression, then the code block following that case is executed. The break statement in each case is used to exit the switch statement after executing the code block associated with the matched case. So this is important. Without the break, the program will continue to execute code in some subsequent case blocks until a break is encountered or the end of the switch statement is reached. Similar to the if statement, if none of the case labels match the value of the expression, the code block under the default label is executed. So the default case is optional, but it is recommended that you always have the default case to tell the program what to do if none of the cases are matched. So similar to how in the if statement we always have an else, then you must have the default case when working with switch statements. Okay, now let's look at an example. So in this example, we are looking at the days of the week. So this is the case that is looking at days of the week. So the value of the variable that we have here is called day. You can see there where it says int day equals to 3. Day is our variable initialized to 3. So the case label and Wednesday is printed because day has the value of 3. This is what is happening in the program. So the expression in the switch statement must be an integer or an expression that evaluates to an integer or a character. So you cannot, for example, use switch statements when you're working with things like strings, data types like strings. It will not work. So whenever you're working with integers, then you can use switch statement, but whenever you're working with float data type or double data type, it will not work with a switch statement. So you must also pay attention to the data types that you're working with. So in this example, we are working with integer. So 3 is an integer. So each label must have a constant expression, which is a literal or constant variable. So the default case, as I said earlier, it's optional, but it's necessary to tell the program what it must do if there are no cases that match. So the break statements exit, the switch statement after executing the desired code block. Otherwise, the execution will fall through to the next cases. So similar to if statements, you can have nested if statements, you can have nested loops. Even in this case, you can have nested switch statements, which means you have a switch statement inside another switch statement, depending on the problem that you're trying to solve. So this method is useful when you have a series of conditions based on the value, single value of the expression, making your code more concise, more readable, as compared to a series of if-else statements. So our switch statement is looking at that variable day. Then we have our first case, which is 1. What does this case 1 do? It is just going to print a message Monday with the C out. Then we have the break statement after that case. Then you have case 2, same thing. Case 2 is just going to print a message Tuesday, then there's a break. Case 3 is going to print Wednesday. Case 4, Thursday, and so on, until we get to Friday, which is case 5, and then we have a default. So if it does not match any of the cases, sorry, Ndewo, I see your hand. I will give you a chance now. So if it does not match any of those cases, then it will default to weekend. Okay, so this is what is happening in this example. Okay. You can go, Devo.
I was gonna say that I think it can work with with characters, no good characters here, because since characters are, if you use the SSI code, which is an integer, you can use characters to convert them into an integer as well. I was saying that in another way to, since the switch will always expect an integer, but what you can do is if your input is using characters, you can just change the characters into the SSI code, and then it would be an integer. Then that way, that's a one way of maneuvering around the integer thingy.
Yes. Okay. So there's a way around it, but is it not more making it more complex? Instead of maybe if you know you're working with characters, then just use an if statement. I don't know. It's up to whichever you feel easier.
It's for me, I would say for reliability, use an if statement. But if you want your code to be shorter based on maybe if that scenario would fit a switch, but then your only barrier is that a switch would expect a number, then I feel like you might want to use that. But I would recommend people to just always make sure that they use an if statement. But I was just saying, for people to always think outside the box if a situation requires like a switch and how to work around it. Maybe someone they might ask, how would you use any a character in a switch statement? You know what I mean? So they might ask that in an exam. I don't know.
Yes, they might. So yeah, you must also be able to do that. Okay, so that's another way you can work with switch statements, but yeah. So the general rule is that it works with integers. Yes, so as you see in this example, where we were looking at days of the week, so you can just work through the example and also the default case at the end to say what must the program do if no case matches, so that it doesn't fall through. So that is another method you can use. And always remember to have the break statement after each case. So because here we have our day initialized to 3, so it means when you run this code, then your output will be Wednesday. That is what it will do. Okay. Do you guys have any questions around the switch statements? Okay, if you don't have questions, then we will do a practice question. But I see Anele is asking if we have these classes every week. Yes, we have these classes every Tuesday at 6 p.m. So you are welcome to join, and we use the same link every week. So if you missed the previous sessions, you can go to the recordings link to get recordings of the previous sessions. Okay, so let's do a practice question. It's asking, in this program, you have to use the switch statement. Write a program that when given a bulb's wattage, displays the average life expectancy. So this is life expectancy of the light bulb. The average life expectancy in hours of a light bulb based on the bulb's wattage is listed in the table below. So you can see that these are multiple options. So to use the switch statement, then we can see that each of them watts on the left column, that will be different cases. And then each case has got its matching life expectancy. So this is what you have to do using the switch statement. Okay, so I will give you guys, let's say 8 minutes to work through this, and then you post your answers here on the chat. Then we can discuss. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you guys. Please, you can tackle this question and then you post your answers here in the chat. I'll give you guys 8 minutes. Guys, are we winning? Okay, I think we can look at the solution. I think they were already posted his answer. Other people, can you let us know where you are struggling? Okay, so first thing, you need to identify the variable that you're going to be working with. So in this case, the variable that we're working with is the watts. So maybe that should help you to get started if you are struggling. So the wattage is your variable. Then you also need another variable for the life expectancy. So those are the two variables that you're working with, and then you will need to prompt the user to enter the wattage of the light bulb. Then you take that input and then use that in your switch statement. So the question says, when given the bulb's wattage, display the average life expectancy. So the life expectancy is given to us in hours based on the wattage that is given there on the left of the table. So to address this question, you will write a switch statement. So this is the solution that was given. So this is part of an assignment, I think from 2023 or so, but it's the same lecturer and everything. So this is how they will mark your code. So when you are writing your if statement, you need to write it in a way that is logical. So first, you will declare variables. It's int wattage, or you can call it watts or whatever that makes sense. Then, and the int life for life expectancy. Then prompt the user with the Cout, please enter the wattage of the light bulb. Then you store that input with the Cin in your variable for the wattage. That is before you write the switch statement. Then you write your switch statement for the wattage. So remember the syntax. You have switch and then the expression. Then after the expression, you have the curly braces where you have all your different cases that you want to execute. So even in this case, then you will have the first case, which is 25. And for that 25, according to the table, the life expectancy is 25,000 hours. So that is why we have that variable life is equal to 25,000, and then you break. Then you have your next case, which is 40, next case 60, next case 75, and the last case is 100, each with its own life expectancy. And then each case must have a break. So for 40 and 60, we can see they have the same life expectancy. Both have got 1,000 hours life expectancy. So that's why you see between 40 and 60, there is no break. You can do it that way, or you can still do 40 and have life equals to 1,000 and have a break, and repeat the same thing again for case 60. So that is how you can write your switch statement. Same approach for case 75 and case 100. Then you have the default case, which we're saying life equals to 0. You can put anything there as long as it makes sense. So then the last message is that we want to display the output, the average life expectancy of the wattage is, and then we put in the life expectancy in hours. So please note where we're having the curly braces, the line after the switch statement, and the line after the last default case. So you can check your solution if it is in line with this. But as I always say, there is more than one way to solve a programming problem. So as long as you get to run your program and it gives you the right output, it's fine. So let's look at the one that the approach from Devo. So we are doing the same thing. And in the cout for case 25, just prints that the average life expectancy is 25,000 hours as per the table that was given. And then you have the \n after each of those life expectancies, and then the break. Do you want to explain that, please?
Oh no, so I was just thinking for I made the slashes as n for like for now when I'm coding. So I realized if this is
Okay.
a if this was a for loop, when we
Mhm.
the switch, it would need that end line. Otherwise, it would be if the second time they enter a different kind of volts or wattage, it would be in the same line. So just for I guess
Okay.
for yeah. But yeah, but I realized that he used his code was more optimized because mine you can see that it's redundant because I'm repeating out the output because I just do everything in the same case. I get to the
Mhm.
case, print the thing that needs to be in the case, then I break it, then my code will then I think would finish there, I guess. So
Okay.
I was just wondering if anyone is used his method, how long does it tend to run in terms of check how which one is more optimized for memory? Because I realize that we don't necessarily need to use the the life variable, because it's a fixed statement. There's nothing new that we're gonna get from that thing.
Yes.
So we technically, you could say that his is more optimized, but then he made it more complicated. But then my one is like, it's a redundant. It has a redundant line of code, but it's more precise because you do everything in one case and then you just done with the code. Because now we're no longer creating a variable, because remember, there's higher chances of making a mistake in the in the printout statement, because you're using different things as well. So there's more prone to
Yeah.
more mistakes, and also doesn't make it would have, for me in my head, well, like, it would have made more sense if we're using a while loop and we're calculating the average by ourselves. Then it would make sense to have that kind of
Yes.
state, because you're now doing the calculations one time. But now we know that we don't need to do any calculation. We're just printing out what's in the menu, what's already given, so it's fixed. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
then that's why I was like, in my head, I was like, I would have lost marks, but then I think I would have had a kind of argument, because hence why, even when if you look at my default, I didn't say 0. I said invalid. Please enter the correct words, so that they know
Yes.
in the table. So the best, in my head, the best way to optimize the code would be to print out the table first, and then tell the person if their words is within that table, and then they put in their words, and then they get it from the table. So if they put anything else out, then I'm making it more complicated, but that's how my line of thinking was.
Okay. No, it is correct. It works. But you're right. We don't need the two variables. We can just use the one variable for the words, and then the life expectancy we add it to the print statement. So that is also another way to do it, instead of having another variable for life expectancy, which we're not doing anything with. We're only asking the user to give us the words. So it makes sense. So that is another approach. So when you're working with problems like this, you need to think outside the box, try different ways to solve the problem. So yeah, both methods work. I see Gudani also did something similar, using only the bulb what, and then for the two cases that have the same amount of hours for life expectancy, then it's one case. So she combined case 40 and 60 into one case 75 and 100 into one case. So that is also correct. It gets us to the same outcome. So thank you for that. So as you can see, guys, there are multiple ways that you can use to solve the problem, whatever is easier for you to work with. I don't think they would mark you wrong if your code is not exactly as what the lecturer has given in the memo, as long as your code runs and it gives, the correct output. Because when you submit your assignment, you're supposed to provide the code and the output. So it should be fine. Okay. T Dube then specifies in the print statement to say enter bulb wattage, and the user must only enter those numbers 25, 40, 60, 75, or 100. Okay, and then for each case, print statement with the life expectancy. Same for case 40 and case 60, case 75 and 100. Okay, yes, so it's correct. And then the default case at the end to say invalid wattage entered. Okay, so I think we get the idea of how to work with switch statements. Do you guys have any questions? Anyone else who is still working on it, or maybe you're getting an error? Okay, so we do have time left. Maybe we can use that 10 minutes to talk about the assignment. You guys have any questions regarding the assignment? Or maybe you have not started with the assignment yet. I think, is it not due on the 15th?
Yes, you on the 15th. Well, people will be watching the World Cup. Don't forget to do the assignment. In terms of the assignment itself, I realized there were certain things that were what they got wrong. I think they did fix that. But my so for the print, I think what let me check.
Let me stop sharing. Okay, TW says I haven't looked at question 3. Okay, but you have started with the assignment. That is good. So the tutorial 103 with the assignment questions, I think it would be good if you can start working on it, on the assignment, because it's not a lot of time left. So we have 1 week. Well, it's due next week, Monday, the 15th. So it's 6 days basically that is left for you to work on the assignment. And if you need help, reach out for help. So for the rest, we're not going to have class next week, Tuesday, because the 16th is a public holiday. So I would encourage you to work through the assignment this week so that if you have questions, you can ask, you can reach out to me with your questions before the deadline on the 15th. So yeah, that is a bit worrying for people who have not started, because for this assignment, you have to write the code, unfortunately. And it does says that you are assessed on if statements, the while loops, Boolean values, nested if statements, switch statements, the for and the while loops, and the nested loops. That is for assignment 2. So I don't know how we can work together to get people help. If you have any questions regarding the assignment, please reach out. You're not going to finish this in one day. So don't leave it until Sunday before you start. You're not going to finish. So save yourself the stress and start working on the assignment if you have not started. But the question 1 looks easy.
Sure,
Yeah.
man. Everything looks fine. Like I'm not gonna lie. Okay, they for course 11, I think they changed the outlook of this thing, right? When we're submitting, where are we gonna submit? Are we gonna submit using course 1512?
No, on the assignment tab, isn't there a button to upload?
No, no, actually, because it's because if you go to the thingy, you go to there's announcements, additional resources, discussion forum, the attendance that they had the other day, and then the recordings and there it is. Okay, my fault. Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, there isn't. It's only quiz 1 and quiz 2 that are available there. Oh yeah.
No, bro, sorry. If you
Oh.
check under my UNISA, there's a code grade assignment 2. When you click on that,
Sorry, now.
it shows you where to submit. It says it shows you C++, and then it says write your answer here. Then I think that's where you submit your assignment. Assignment 2 and assignment 3.
Yeah, I saw it now. Actually, it's been a while since I've been in coding. 1511.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Oh,
Okay.
I hope this doesn't crash out when you're writing. Yeah.
We'll see.
Yes. Okay, so guys, make sure that you give yourself enough time to do the questions and upload in time so that you're not penalized or they say the assignment has closed. So you can see these are things that we've done before, similar to what we've done. Like for question 1 is about pension fund contribution. You have 7.5%, or there's also 13% by contribution by the employer. So your program must calculate the total pension fund contribution for the employee and the employer. So you can choose for yourself how you want to approach these questions. So they don't prescribe how you must approach this question, but you can see that you need the variable for the employees contribution, which is 7.5%, and the employer's contribution, which is 13%. And then they give you an example. If an employee earns 3,500, therefore an employee contribution is calculated as follows: 7.5 times that amount they earn, and then you get the contribution for the pension fund. And then also calculate the employer's contribution. You multiply the salary amount by 13%. So you are supposed to get the total pension fund, meaning that you do the calculation first, then you add the two values together. to get the total pension fund. That is for
Oh, it's
question
nice.
1.
Okay, it's nice, Musna. This is nice.
Then question 2.
But ma'am,
It's
so
about-
sorry to disturb you. The last time I checked, it says the assignment is due on the 24th. Am I right or wrong?
I don't know. What does it say on the module side? Is it the 15th or the 24th?
The last time I checked, it was the 24th, and it says it opens on the 24th and closes on the 24th at around 11.
So the one, so it's only assessment 1 that's closing on the 15th. The first quiz, I think, because they extended it again because they did send an email or an announcement saying that they have extended the thing. I'm just gonna send a picture now, just on the group on the thingy. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, this
By the
one
way,
assignment 2, it was the 24th, and then it was like it opens on the 24th and closes on the 24th. That's why I didn't do it. Because it's like
No.
8 to 11, or I don't know what time was it, 9 to 11. So I was like, maybe it's not
Yeah,
yet
okay.
open for me to do.
It's open now on the system. You can now submit it.
It seems like the
Yeah, I
information
see
is
the
different.
changes
Because
because now when you click
we attended the class
on
on
assignment 2, it
Monday.
shows that code grading.
No, I think that's for I don't know because for my side the one that's closed was course 12 and it opens on the 15th, which is the one that's closed. And then if you go to the code tool the other lady told me about, you can write new templates for assessment 2. So
It is that now, but before it was the 24th. Now when I check, it shows now the code grading. And when you click on it, it's where it shows you where to do your coding and submit.
yeah.
It doesn't show the date anymore.
No, the date, I think if you check, just go to dashboard. If you go to your dashboard and then you go to, it tells you when to submit. So on the 18th of June, oh no, that's course 21. That's 18 June. And then that's maths. Just check the dashboard. The dashboard will tell you if you're confused because I don't see anything
Okay.
that's due on the 24th. And then that on the 29th of June. And then on the 30th of June again. Nah, I think I don't know. Hey, this is strange because there's nothing for course 11 that's available on my side for June on my dashboard. When it comes to
It sent someone in the group. Yeah, it's here.
Chief.
Chief.
Let me show you.
Yeah, we attended the class on Monday, you know? And
Yeah.
the lecturer did mention that the closing date is the 24th. But she said she will need to go and test a code grade. And then she will prepare a video that will show us how to do and everything.
Okay.
So we're supposed to have a video that will show us how to work on a code grade before we can submit.
Okay, good. Because I was about to ask ma'am because like, hey, because now it's like I thought we were just gonna write the code and then send in like either a zip file, or a PDF. So when they saw the code, I was like, I don't know how to use this thing. But a rule of thumb: write your code now, test it, and then by the time you need to submit, it's already done. And I think I don't know when, but I think maybe on Friday or Thursday late night, I did submit. If you check on, I do have a practice assignment for us to do. I'm gonna do it. It talks about how to do code and how to approach coding problems, and then I'm gonna help I know I'm helping one person, But on Friday, I might have a group where I'm helping a lot of people if they join. But do not use AI to solve problems that I have because I want to see your skill level of coding and then I can help with that.
Okay, so then it is clear. So guys, don't wait until the video from the lecturer. You have the questions already in the tutorial letter. So you can start working through the questions on code blocks so that when it's open, then when you go in, you already have the code. I don't know if that will make life easier. So rather work through the questions now. And then, yeah, so they have changed the way that you must upload assignments. In the past, you would just copy your code into a Word document and put a screenshot of your output. So yeah, so it looks like now they are wanting you to code in the assignment. So, but yeah, it will help you if you work through the questions before. It's not like exam where you have to do it there and then. They gave you the questions ahead of time so that you can work through them. I hope that helps.
I think maybe they're gonna turn it in on the code that we write to check if it's AI used or something like that. Because I think they cut it. They really if you did the mock thingy, they really are going through the zero tolerance for cheating and whatnot. So yeah, I sent the Word document. You can also look at it, Ms. Mukete, and check if it's in line with your teaching so that I don't teach other people wrong stuff. But I wanna like teach pseudocode because I realized that for me, I have the privilege in high school to have done this thing and also to have a passion for it on the side. Then I just realized that as some people are, this is new to them, and we're not. And then I realized that we're not teaching. Like in most of the classes, we're teaching the syntax of C++, but the ability to code for me, for most of my friends who are working in the space already, who are who are actually software engineers, the skill level that they want is not your ability to your ability to use C++, is your ability to be able to solve problems and how to approach solve those problems. And being a software engineer is not about writing code. It's about having a solution and then turning the solution into code. So code is the last thing you have to be doing as a software engineer. So in the session that I'm gonna have, it's for free by the way. I think it's gonna be 2 hours. Yeah. So I'm just gonna share what I know about pseudocode, how to approach problems, what you can do to have problem solving, and I want the people who are gonna participate write the code. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about seeing what skill level you're at and where I can help, and where you need to be and what you need to improve. Because if you have the ability to solve a problem, it's then easier when you understand how to. It's then easier to code the problem because a lot of people make a mistake of trying to code their solution without having the solution itself. So, yeah.
Yes, so that is the logical thinking. So guys, there is a free session. Please join so that you can get the help. Yeah.
Interesting, Banga. Thank you so much.
I'll send the link. No, don't get my teachers. You guys, me, I'm bad. I'm a bad text. I'm
No,
not
okay,
gonna.
we can chat on Teams because somewhere I asked ma'am last because I was
Don't worry.
stuck.
No, it's okay. It's okay. We can check on Teams for now. I think I have 30 minutes. Otherwise, I'm gonna go. There's a ceremony happening in my house, so I'm gonna go ahead and help. 30 minutes. I'm gonna help people on Teams. But the link for the session is I'm just gonna drop it on the chat here, and then I'm also gonna drop on the WhatsApp group. Then the people can share it. Then I will help people there. And yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you for doing that. I think it's really needed. So guys, please make sure you join that session on Friday. I will not be there, but yeah, Gabo is there to assist anyone who needs help. Okay, so let's end here for today, everyone. I think this was productive, and good luck with the assignment. Please work through the questions. Don't leave it until the last minute. So you have time now to work through the questions. So please do it so that when you actually have to go and do the assignment, you are not lost. You already know how to approach those questions. So thank you, guys. Next week, Tuesday, is a public holiday. So we are not going to meet on the 16th of June. We will meet the week after on the 23rd. I will also post an announcement here because it's a public holiday. We're not going to meet. Okay, so good luck, everybody. Please complete the evaluation form. I'm putting the evaluation form here. Please complete the evaluation form, and then we are done for today. Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a good
Also,
evening.
guys, yeah. Sorry, guys. One thing I was thinking about, if you guys, UNISA has like, I think a hackathon for, I don't know how to receive an email about this hackathon and whatnot. But I'll tell you now, one of my former lady friend, sister used to work in HR. One thing about, in order to have employability when it comes to the tech space, GitHub is your best friend, and having projects is one thing that's gonna help you when it comes to job, because most of the time they've realized, I think there was a case in the industry as well, that the universities, traditional universities in South Africa, do not well prepare their students for the working environment. They have it, but they don't have the skills that are Landoas around. That's why now you find out there's a big learnerships that are produced by certain companies to have people working directly with their own platforms. But
yes,
the advantage is that they still value students who come from traditional universities such as UNISA itself. But what you need to do to make sure that you are above the rest is to have projects that reflect your skill level, to also show the dedication on the side. Because you can say that I have 90% average on all of my things, but if I can't translate that average into being an asset of the company, then I'm not gonna be able to work. But if I say I have 90% average, but I also have this project that I was working on throughout my university years that reflect my skill level, that show that I'm able to work. It puts a different mindset into you doing. So also attending hackathons allows you to also network with this kind of people. Also to have a fresh mindset of what the industry looks like in a specific time period. Because I think Isazo hackathon was happening, but I didn't qualify because I'm first year, of course. But I did apply for it. But then they are now sending me a lot of hackathon related issues. I'm going into spaces where I know that I'm not gonna be the best out there, but I'm there to absorb the knowledge and also to absorb the atmosphere. They're gonna tell you what they want. They're gonna tell you what they need. They're gonna tell you what they're working on. And what you can do as a student is to align your personal projects to reflect what they're doing. You can start a company like a Standard Bank. I think I also joined a FNB final year conference. Don't ask me how I joined, but I was there. And we're learning about cybersecurity, about how they're approaching problems, more especially about the scams that are happening with mobile apps. And then they had a big project where you have to use data engineer structures. And of course, I didn't finish that thing. I didn't know how to do. I didn't want to cheat, so I didn't do it at all. But I was there to absorb the atmosphere of being around final year students, but also to see the recruitment of these companies and what they actually want. So now I have an advantage. I'm first year. By the time I'm in second year, I'm already working on these things. And by the time I have the opportunity and qualifications to be in that space, I'm already being exposed to it. And I already have projects that are aligned to what they want. And in a way that kind of like becomes a credibility. UNISA is your credibility for your degree. GitHub is your credibility for your skills. So yeah. In any case, good night with the TED talk of mine. But I gotta go. Bye bye.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, take advantage of the opportunities out there. There's lots of places where you can get free coding knowledge. So take advantage of those opportunities. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Good night.